Okay. Now first, offering some attention to the posture, just letting the spine be long, upright and energetic. Without being rigid or forced. Allowing the head to just rest gently on top of the spine. Allowing the face to be bright, relaxed, reflecting kindness and curiosity. Letting the belly be soft. Letting the arms and hands, legs and feet just flow naturally. From their positions at the shoulders and hips. Allowing a balance of awakeness, uprightness, alertness, and softness, relaxation, receptivity in the body. And then putting the mind, putting the heart where the body is. In the present moment, being with conditions as they are. Cultivating that same uprightness, alertness, balanced with an openness, softness, receptivity. And just if we wish, bringing up a sense of gratitude and appreciation for the space, the people holding the space, making this available for us. And then you're really feeling the happiness that comes from generosity when we realize we are those people. Just being here, just showing up, just walking through the door, just being a model and an example of kindness and gentleness and quiet. Each one of us is holding this space for the others. So just cultivating any sense of goodness, any sense of brightness that comes from these reflections. And then moving toward our meditation object, bringing the attention to a place in the body or a refrain in the heart. And using the breath to help us return again and again. Strengthening those muscles of attention and awareness or diligence. As we move into silent meditation, just remembering to come back when the mind wanders and to celebrate that coming back, to enjoy that moment of being awake, every moment of being awake. So we've been starting with a bit of reading each week from Ajahn Chah. So I'll go ahead with that. These days, people are going all over the place looking for merit. And they always seem to stop over in Wat Pah Pong. That's where Ajahn Chah's main monastery was in Thailand. That's where it is in Thailand. If they don't stop over on their way out, they do so on the return trip. Some people are in such a hurry, I didn't even get a chance to see or speak to them. Most of them are looking for merit. I don't see many looking for a way out of wrongdoing. They're so intent on getting merit, they don't know what they're going to put, they don't know where they're going to put it. It's like trying to dye a dirty, unwashed cloth. Monks talk straight like this, but it's hard for most people to put this sort of teaching into practice. It's hard because they don't understand. If they understood, it would be much easier. Suppose there was a hole, and there was something at the bottom of it. Now anyone who reached into the hole and couldn't touch the bottom would say the hole was too deep. 100 or 1,000 people might put their hands down that hole, and they'd all say the hole was too deep. Not one would say their arm was too short. Sooner or later, all these people looking for merit will have to start looking for a way out of wrongdoing. But not so many people are interested in this. The teachings of the Buddha are so brief, but most people just pass them by like they pass through Wat Pah Pong. For most people, that's what the Dhamma is, a stopover. Only 3 lines, hardly anything to it. The first is, Sabba papasa akaranang, refraining from all wrongdoing. That's the teaching of all the Buddhas. That's the heart of Buddhism. But people keep jumping over it. They don't want this one. The renunciation of all wrongdoing, great and small, from bodily, verbal, and mental actions. This is the teaching of the Buddhas. If we were to dye a piece of cloth, we'd have to wash it first, but most people don't do that. Without looking at the cloth, they dip it into the dye straight away. If the cloth is dirty, dyeing it makes it come out even worse than before. Think about it. Dyeing a dirty old rag, would that look good? You see, this is how Buddhism teaches, but most people just pass it by. They want to perform good works, but they don't want to give up wrongdoing. It's just like saying the hole is too deep when the arm is too short. We have to come back to ourselves. With this teaching, you have to take a step back and look at yourself. My arm is too short. So last weekend, as Amy was mentioning, we weren't here. This was closed last Sunday, but we had because we have a big sort of celebration out in White Salmon at the Pacific Hermitage every year. And, it's evolved. Next year will be the 15th year, and it's evolved over time from a half-day sort of almsgiving ceremony on Sunday to like a whole weekend of events and celebrations, almost like a wedding. There's a there's a meal, and then this kind of half-day meditation, and then now these sort of wonderful receptions back at the Hermitage after Saturday and Sunday, and then Sunday morning, there's another meal, and then a ceremony, and then this reception, and there's just a lot of opportunities to come together and be in community, be in service. and really, really enjoy ourselves and make a little merit. And the Buddha, if you haven't heard that term merit, it's sort of, in this tradition, merit is described as, the Buddha said, don't be afraid to make merit. Don't be afraid of merit. It's just another word for happiness, and technically it's dana, so generosity, sila, integrity, doing good, and bhavana, cultivating meditation. Ajahn Chah is talking about a different kind of a cultural convention of going to the monastery and sort of soaking up the goodness of the monastics and leaving with that kind of feeling of goodness, or bringing something to share, bringing something to give, and kind of collecting, quote unquote, merit. But anyway, this weekend of events has now evolved in this really beautiful way, and there are just all these kinds of ways to drop in and benefit and be of service and enjoy it. And something I was really noticing this particular year, I've been to all 14 of them and sort of watched it evolve over the years, and now I'm involved in kind of pulling it together and making sure it all sort of flows and happens, or at least parts of it. What I noticed this year, and really every year, is just the care that goes in to the service elements of it. People are working hard in the kitchen and in the background and setting up, making these beautiful flowers and building the altar and setting up chairs and serving monastics and cleaning up. And there's care taken with all of those pieces, like setting things nicely, making them beautiful, making them appealing to the people coming. But beyond that, there's also a care taken. It seems like most people are also bringing this beautiful care for themselves. Like, what's enough? What's too much? How can I bring a sort of a beautiful attitude as well, like a beautiful way about this service? How can I care for the people around me who I'm working with and who I'm working for? So it's like, it's like, have you heard the term rage cleaning? It's like the opposite of rage cleaning. It's not just getting the job done, It's a huge job, and many of you were involved in big parts and pieces of it. And many others, twice as many people as are sitting here even today, but it's picking up, one's piece of it and caring for that piece, but also caring for one's heart and one's practice and one's integrity, and caring about, the relationships that they're interacting with as they go. And I saw so much of that kind of making a suggestion, but then deferring, I think this, what do you think? I'd like to do it this way. What do you think? Maybe we should try this. How can I help? Just those like beautiful, beautiful back and forths were really just heartening and heart-filling. I have to talk, Christine, about this, the interaction we had about helping with the kitchen. Christine and Jessica were, really hustling on clean up in the kitchen, and I sort of realized I hadn't made an announcement that the leaders needed help, in the kitchen. And so I walked in there and I said, well, how can I help? And Christine said, well, you can find some people to help. I was like, that is a really smart idea. You can recruit, And recruiting is something, I can do it, but I get really nervous and shy, And so I sort of walked through the people eating, and I was like, help yourself to leftovers, and help is needed in the kitchen. It's like that 1-2 punch, like get some dessert, also wash some dishes. And sort of walking through, and then I was laughing about it with one of our friends, Audrey, who's often here on Sundays, and I said, I'm recruiting, but I'm uncomfortable recruiting. What do I do? And she goes, I'll recruit. And so she stood up, and so it was I think Jessica was like, yeah, you got a little pyramid scheme going, And I was like, yeah, the system works. It's like this pyramid scheme of goodness. So I got a recruiter to do some recruiting, and then I went back in and dried dishes because I'm more comfortable, sort of there. And then, we got flooded with help, right? Because all people need to do is hear it. Help is needed. And people were in there. So just like, I feel like I witnessed a lot of little pyramid schemes of goodness all weekend. And then just, kind of, I've been reflecting on care for things too, care for items. After one of these, after there was a reception at the Hermitage on Sunday, and it was absolutely gorgeous, and all this, kind of these beautiful allowables were laid out for the monastics, but also the lay people, and I had my family and my kids there, and my kids had it really. They had been hanging out for like 8 hours at this point, and they decided to grab some snacks and go back to the van. I'm just going to sit in the van and eat my snacks while Mom does her Dhamma thing, And so they did, and that's fine. It was fine. But then we're driving away. I don't remember how far we had gotten, but one of the little bowls for the snacks, they're not snacks, allowables that the monks can have in the evenings. We had a bowl from the Hermitage, and I was like, oh no, we took a bowl from the monastery. That's got to be really bad karma. And we all kind of like looked at it. And then, I had a choice in that moment. And I think I made the wrong one, and I'll tell you what it is and why. We chose to keep going, to keep going. We didn't want to turn back. We had been there for like 10 hours or something at that point. The kids were tired and cranky. And I go to the Hermitage a lot, so I could bring the bowl back. And now that bowl is in the van, and it's got this it's like radiating. It's got this really loud neon vibe around it. It's a bowl, that I took accidentally, but took from a monastery. I get in my car and I'm like, oh, sort of like back away from it. And what I think would have been the right thing to do in the moment and to model for my kids and family is, oh, that doesn't belong to us. We weren't mindful to put that back when we were done. We wanted to get out of here, right? So we took off without caring, doing that sort of wraparound care. Oh, what do I have? Let me look around. Do I have everything I need? Have I taken anything that's not mine? And I think I missed that opportunity, even if it took a little bit longer. I think I missed that opportunity to model that care for our things, for our time, for our mindfulness. So I have a bowl, you guys. So I'm, but it's a missed opportunity, right? With right effort, we can prevent these it wasn't the worst choice, but it wasn't kind of, in my framework, it wasn't really the right choice. I can prevent that by being more mindful in the beginning, in the moment, looking around before we take off. Or later, when I noticed it, oh, that's going to take us some extra time. But what's extra time in the service of caring for the heart, building good habits, taking care of the monastery's things? Nope, didn't do that either. Decided to put it up, and now I'm feeling that. Like, oh, I still have this item. That really doesn't feel great. And, it's because, to a great degree, of what the monks' rules are, what their conventions are. Their conventions are that they receive everything they have comes from the generosity of others. Everything. They don't buy, they don't carry money, they don't spend money, they don't go to the store, they don't buy food, they don't store food. Everything they have has been given to them by another person through the generosity of their own heart. And so they don't have very many things, but the things that they have, they're caring for in a beautiful and gentle way, but really sharply as well. So you can look at anything in a monastery and think, and here too, and think, oh, I don't even know I don't know who offered that. I don't know what their conditions were. I don't know what their circumstances were. But I know that somewhere, someone, hopefully, is benefiting from the happiness that came from the generosity of offering this thing. So then if I'm using everything, if I'm using it, then it's my responsibility to care for it, but not in an uptight, kind of terrified way, like we can often do. I carried this thing around for years, just like carrying it around. This thing has been around longer than I've been around, at PFOD. And it looks really pretty strong, sounds beautiful. Figured it was metal. It's never going to break. Nothing's ever going to go wrong with this thing. And then like 19 years into its cool, it's like, that's like ceramic or something. It's like some breakable material. And I was like, why do I touch it? I should never touch that. And of course, I should not never touch it, but gentleness, reverence, care. It just looks different. I was listening to a Dhamma talk by Ajahn Nyāniko recently, who's the abbot down at Abhayagiri Monastery, that the monastery we're affiliated with in California. And every year the monks, well, I shouldn't say every year, I don't know exactly, but often once a year the monks go to, I think it's Yosemite, and they sort of do some like wilderness training, and live out on the land and do these big hikes and camp and things. And this year, Ajahn Nyāniko, the group did a big, like a kind of a difficult big hike up a mountain. It was an all-day hike. It was the biggest hike, most difficult hike of their trip. And when he came back down, he realized that he had lost this little sack of tools that he had. And he said that, none of them were irreplaceable, but of course they had all been given to him by a supporter, like by, different lay supporters. And he knew who had given each tool. He was very aware of the originations of all these tools. And he was expressing frustration. I always know where my stuff is, and I take a lot of pride in that, and I don't lose my things. And so he kind of like was talking about going to this place of being frustrated with himself, but also sad that he lost the things and determined to get them back. Just kind of what we do when we make a mistake, this kind of stew of me and you and this and. And then the next day he decided to go through various circumstances, but he decided to do this big hike again. The day before they were leaving, he did this really grueling hike again, in part because he wanted to find this bag of tools, and came back down and didn't find it. It never showed up again. But it was a very useful reflection for me, just this kind of, he's very aware of the origins of all his possessions. And there's something to be learned here, and that's not to beat himself up, And he said something about doing kind of a silent acknowledgement to each person, this is lost. It was a gift made through the generosity of others, and now it's gone. So it was really lovely, to hear him reflect on it and talk a little bit about kind of the wrong mindset that he briefly went toward, and then kind of to, come back to a useful reflection on it. And I think we all can do that. At any point of the game that we notice, we can prevent, we can abandon, we can cultivate, we can maintain, these kind of mistakes over here and kind of beautiful mindsets over here. I just to encourage that in community. Here it's, we see wonderful examples of it at the monastery all the time, and in the larger community. And then here, same, just, taking care of our items, taking care of our processes, and finding ways to be really gentle and to guide people and to let them know, not just what we don't want them to do, but what we do want them to do, and really explain and be explicit and be helpful. I think we're really, really good at that here, and I appreciate how much effort goes into that kind of a communal spirit of helping and care for our things, but also for ourselves and for our relationships. So I'll leave it at that.